Hi everyone, I'm Julie Webb and welcome to another edition of UC Tech Chat. Today I'm joined here with Matthew Hilton and we're going to be talking about disaster recovery, business continuity, and unified communication solutions. Is business continuity and disaster recovery the same thing?
Well, they're often used interchangeably, but they're actually not the same thing. So I've actually heard people also use the term backups as part of, or instead of the term disaster recovery or business continuity. And in reality, business continuity is really the higher level function of making sure your whole organization can operate in some fashion during a disaster. Whereas disaster recovery is really focusing just on the information technology portion, so just the technology, what services need to be available during an outage.
So disaster recovery is part of business continuity.
It is, and so really the way that I like to think of it is business continuity is kind of a pyramid, if you will, and disaster recovery is kind of the underlying structure for that pyramid. And what I mean by that is technology is really a big part of most organizations today, and so kind of without that, a lot of companies really don't have anything to do in terms of, well, how does my business continue to operate? And so from disaster recovery's perspective, we want to look at what services do we need during an outage. But from business continuity, which is sitting on top of that, we're again looking at what is the entire organization doing? Do we have certain employees that don't need to be in place? What happens if a supply chain issue happens? That isn't really disaster recovery, that's business continuity because it falls outside of IT's realm.
So how does unified communications, or UC, fit in with business continuity and disaster recovery?
Yeah, so it really, I would consider your UC solution or your PBX or your phone system to be part of the disaster recovery planning. Of course, we're also going to look at just a small version of that in our business continuity planning as well. So maybe I work for a company that really doesn't do anything over the phone, right? So we may say that in our disaster recovery plan, we don't care about bringing our phones over. That's a choice we make in our business continuity plan based on the risk of trying to set up a second phone system versus the reward of, well, we get 3 calls a day, it really doesn't matter. And so it kind of plays a part in both disaster recovery and business continuity, and it really is going to depend on the business in terms of what they decide to include.
How does a company determine what should be done during an outage?
Yeah, and that's actually one of the hardest things to figure out. And essentially what we need to do is we need to look at the risks of action versus the risks of inaction and the costs to do either or. So we may find, as of the phone system as a good example, the cost to set up a second location with a full phone system is way more expensive than it is for us to lose 3 or 4 phone calls during an outage. So we're taking a look at the risk, so how often might that occur? We're going to determine that, and then we're going to figure out the cost of implementing the solution in whatever form we decide, whether it's a smaller phone system or the same that we have in our normal office. And we're going to decide based on our business logic whether or not it makes sense for us to go ahead and continue that. And you do that for every part of the business plan, whether it's services like your electricity, your telephone bills, or your employees. Maybe there's certain employees that are non-essential. They don't need to come in during a disaster. So we take all that into consideration when we're figuring out the costs versus the risks that we're looking at.
Perfect. Always good information to have.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you next time for UC Tech Chat.